Welcome to the Subkarma channel. My name is James Soames and I'm a brand consultant in Taiwan. As with all our Branding Bits episodes, we delve into the issues and topics related to branding in Taiwan. And today is no exception. In this episode, I will be looking at Coca-Cola's relatively recent localization campaign across the world. I will be honing in on the 2019 Coca-Cola campaign in Taiwan, and I will try to understand what that campaign has revealed about Taiwan's national identity. And I will be answering the following question. Does localization have the same meaning in Taiwan as in other countries? Now, you may have noticed last year that the can of Coke in Taiwan looked a little different to what it used to. Whereas the usual can would be red with a Coke logo, the design has been modified to show graphics representing different cities from Taiwan as well as pictures of their local attractions, be it food or local renowned landmarks. On top of that, the Taiwanese featured a character, presumably representative of that city or area, and a key word meant to describe that place in written form. And somewhat ironically, for a localization project, these brand new designs were created by Israeli artist Noam Bar. Of course. Makes total sense. Nevertheless, all this does sound like a great campaign, and it certainly seems to be in line with Coca-Cola's global campaign to localize the brand and initiate a closer dialogue with consumers on a more personal level. So it is great to see that a giant international brand like Coca-Cola is willing to include Taiwan in its strategy. This is a wonderful opportunity to showcase Taiwan's local identity, flavors, and people. But was the campaign as successful as it was made out to be in our local media? I am actually not so sure, and here are my reasons why. First, the campaign seems to have divided Taiwanese people rather than bringing them together. By focusing on what makes each city unique, Coca-Cola was promoting regional pride and uniqueness. And there is nothing wrong with that, as long as it is not to the detriment of your neighbors from other parts of the island. Showing how different one's own city is an opportunity to share with the wider community. What actually happened is that the campaign became a regional competition to see whose city was the best. And other cities felt left out and wanted their own can. Selected cities wanted to sell their own cans only, and not those from other places. As one of the campaign managers said, it was fun to see North and South fighting about who is best. I find it hard to connect that turf war with the universal brand values of Coca-Cola. But it does reflect somehow on Taiwan's sense of self-identity, which is probably more regional than national. Coca-Cola decided to promote regional differences and create a sense of local pride. But did it help bring people together in Taiwan around the diversity of their island? I'm not sure. 2. The campaign focused on linking each city's identity with products rather than making emotional connections. Each one of the can designs featured a landmark or a dish representative of the area. Now, showcasing products is fine, and a lot of cities have been doing that for years, such as the famous OTOP or One Town One Product project. I would argue that this is very typically Taiwanese, where locals will often associate a place, a region or town with a particular food or a local restaurant or something of the sort. However, we have no idea about what personality each city has and who people from Jiayi, Taichung, Taoyuan, Taipei actually really are. In my opinion, the minimalist design of the cans could show more emotion and personality. And I will even venture to say that the design does not reflect the Taiwanese personality that I have come to know. The design is flat and two-dimensional, something one can definitely not say about Taiwan. And I certainly cannot detect what it means to be someone from Taichung or Taipei or Jiayi by looking at the cans. All I can tell is what these cities list as theirs in terms of landmarks and food. Coca-Cola uses two measures to quantify their marketing successes globally: unit cases and brand love. The campaign generated sales, so they have ticked the first box. When it comes to brand love, has the objective been met? Possibly. For Coca-Cola to show interest in Taiwan as a market with regional identity is always going to be welcome here. But did it spark something darker? exposing division and a lack of national unity? Well, you can decide. Let's take a look now at what Coca-Cola did in South Africa last year as part of their own brand localization push. Now, South Africa is a country with 11 official languages, where many people cannot even greet one another properly because of vast differences in the languages and in the phonetic pronunciation of names. Coke South Africa decided that localization was about bringing people together by allowing them to discover how to greet each other in another person's language. So they selected a number of different names from across the 11 languages and printed them phonetically on their cans of Coke, thus allowing everybody to learn how to pronounce them correctly. They didn't print people on their cans, or landmarks, or food. Instead, they only printed the phonetic names. They then created a conversation about identity, working with local media channels, focusing on why it is so difficult to talk to one another and opening a discussion about language and local differences. They then promoted their name campaign nationally. Interestingly, to the opposite of Taiwan, they made sure the cans sold in one of the regions were printed with the names from other regions, not their own. The idea was to reach out and not look inward, to share and have a conversation about identity. What turned out to be local pride in Taiwan actually turned into national pride in South Africa. Was Coke's approach different in both Taiwan and South Africa then? Fundamentally, I do not think that what Coke wanted to achieve was particularly different from one country to another. They wanted to create a conversation about their differences and celebrate them. What I do believe, though, is that both audiences reacted differently to the campaign. And I would suggest that it is the reaction that provides the most insight into both cultures today. You see, South Africa has a history of division from the apartheid era. However, the country has always had a deep pride in its roots and its identity, regardless of political or racial divides. The Coke campaign was really an extension of what South Africans have been aware of for decades, namely the divisions that exist and the need to bring the nation together. And when the population has a desire to reach out across divides, the whole job becomes easier. In fact, South Africans have a word in Zulu for this desire to come together: Ubuntu. Taiwan, on the other hand, has a history of struggling with its identity. The country has yet to define and understand who it really is, or who it wants to be, both on the world stage and in the minds of its people. People in Taiwan do generally identify more closely with the place or city that they are from, rather than the whole country, except perhaps during baseball games against South Korea. Now, since the city campaign, more cans have been added to represent Taiwan, the country, and having a Taiwan is a big step in the right direction. But in my view, these new cans do little to shed light on who Taiwan really is. Maybe Taiwan is just a really difficult country to describe. Or maybe Taiwanese people just prefer to let foreigners talk, worry, and deal with these issues instead. But rather than let large international corporations define us, why not try and figure it out by ourselves first? We cannot be satisfied with how our own back garden looks and not wish for our neighbors to have a beautiful place too. So where is our Ubuntu? And do we have a word that means the same thing here? Post your comments and let everyone know what you think about today's topic. Let's have a discussion. Thank you for watching, and God bless.